You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Kathy is home from the hospital who had, you had surgery on Friday.
Yes.
And you were here now. And we're actually podcasting from our bedroom. Kathy is in bed recovering. She is laying down in bed holding her microphone, and I'm in a chair sitting next to our bed. So we are actually 48 hours after your surgery, and here you are.
I probably won't talk very much. Not feeling so
Kathy
good.
has stitches and bandages and all kinds of stuff going on.
Frankenstein's monster.
But the show must go on, Kathy. Surgery,
I'm here in
stitches.
Spirit. I'm here physically.
The show must go on. I tell you, I know it's crazy, huh? It's crazy. A lot of times when I first started in broadcasting, people would always tell me, don't talk about problems, things going on and all this stuff. It's theater of the mind and all of that. Now, we're telling you what's going on. We're broadcasting from the marital bed. Well, I'm sitting next to the bed. Kathy's in the bed. Well, listen, a lot is going on and a lot has happened, and we're going to cover quite a bit here on the program. So Mike Pence has offered some advice to Ramaswamy. And, the reason I bring this up is Mike Pence, unlike some of these other people, okay, that run for anyone who runs for president has ego. You got to have a big ego to run for president. You got to have a big ego to run for public office. I mean, if you're running for public office, you're running for two reasons. One of two reasons, right? Either you think you have the solutions to everyone's problems, right? Or you're just a con man like Joe Biden and you want to hold public office so you can take bribes and sell your office and everything else and get rich off of it. There's no other type of people. And I know what you're saying. Well, Trump, Trump is a very confident guy. I mean, if you're running for president of the United States for the good reasons, which you think you have the solution to everyone's problems, you got to be a pretty confident person.
I don't think it's a secret that Trump has a big ego, but that's not always a bad thing.
That's not a negative.
It works for him. Works for him.
That's not a negative at all.
You can have a big ego and be a nice guy.
Exactly. And I think that's wonderful. But Mike Pence is a lot of things, okay? And I don't like Mike Pence.
None of them good.
But there's no way that Mike Pence thinks he has a snowball's chance to be president of anything. I mean, he is the most unelectable Republican in anywhere, ever. There's never been a Republican who's held national office that was less electable than Mike Pence. First off, all the Democrats, they're not going to vote for a Republican. And Republican MAGA voters, we wouldn't allow Mike Pence to be president of our homeowners association if he were running, right? Would you trust him? No, I wouldn't trust him.
No, he'd be a tyrant.
I wouldn't trust him. And that tells me Mike Pence is running for one reason and one reason only. He's a grifter. There's a lot of money to be made in running for office. I have known people, no one that is currently running, okay? But I have known people over the many, many years that I've been following the news that have run for office knowing that they have no chance on winning, but a lot of money is raised and there's a lot of money to be made. And some of these members of Congress, every once in a while, a story will come out of members of Congress whose family members work for the campaign. Like Joe Biden's sister has managed every one of his campaigns going back to his early Senate campaign. Do you really think his sister is a campaign manager? Or is that just some title they give her to justify giving her money that the campaign raises, right?
Yeah,
you understand what I mean?
Exactly.
So there's a lot of money to be made running for office, and that's why Mike Pence is running. I don't think that he's a true Christian. I think he is a complete fake. I don't trust this guy. He's always been a sleazeball. No one loves President Trump more than me. And I used to get a lot of criticism from people because I always said, after President Trump chose Mike Pence, I said, I don't trust Pence. I don't trust Pence. And I always give the same reason. I never could see what his true personality was. He always seemed fake, too wooden, and I just never liked this guy. Never liked him, never will.
He makes Joel Osteen look sincere.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, he makes Joel Osteen look like Charles Stanley.
I don't know about that. That's
no. I mean,
stretch.
he
Charles
is so
Stanley's amazing.
There is no
but
one.
He makes him look. He makes Joel Osteen look more genuine.
Legit.
That's even possible with his crazy hair.
There is no one faker and a bigger grifter than Mike Pence. In fact, Mike Pence, the very fact that he's running for president, he is a bigger grifter than even Biden. Okay, because he knows he's not electable. Biden knows Democrats are stupid and will vote for him. He knows that. So, Biden's a grifter too, but Pence is a bigger one because he knows he does not have a chance to win a single primary, a single caucus, a single anything. And certainly no one's going to pick him to be vice president. Oh boy, that's never going to happen. But he did comment on Ramaswamy. And the reason I bring this up is not because of Pence. I can't stand Pence. But because he brought to our attention through this something else about Ramaswamy that I think is important for people to know. Now, I believe Ramaswamy is a fake, all right? I've talked about this a lot. I've done a lot of YouTube videos on this. I've done a lot of shows on this, both radio and podcast. And I'm not out searching for dirt on Ramaswamy. It's just through my daily reading of the news, I keep coming across things about Ramaswamy just through my general reading. I'm not doing any research on this guy, right? The Soros connection, Epstein's friends donating to his campaign, the fact that he's not a registered Republican as of, I guess, a week ago in the state of Ohio. He's registered independent. Now, that may have changed since then. I don't know. But as recently as a week ago, he was not a registered Republican, which means that he doesn't qualify to be in these debates. And Mike Pence brought something up about Ramaswamy that I did not know. So I want to share this.
The mystery continues.
Yeah, and Newsmax had Mike Pence on. Now, before I get to the Ramaswamy part, I want to talk about Newsmax. I love Newsmax. This week, starting Tuesday this week, Greg Kelly's time slot changes to 9 p.m., which means I'll get to catch it on occasion during the week live. I usually am pretty much asleep by that time, going to bed at that time because I get up so early in the morning. But I love Newsmax. I love Greg Kelly and I love Rod Schmidt the best, but I love Newsmax. I watch them. I don't watch a lot of cable news. But if I'm watching cable news, I'm watching Newsmax. And I like Newsmax. I have a lot of respect for Newsmax. But why are they bringing Mike Pence on?
I don't know.
No one wants to hear what Mike Pence has to say. No one cares. Everybody hates this guy, okay? And Newsmax is, Newsmax in certain areas and demos is now officially beating CNN. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot.
Well, they're moving Greg Kelly to 9, which is awesome.
That's a big thing. And for them to be beating CNN is significant because CNN is on everyone's cable system. There is not a single person with cable in this country that does not have CNN. Yeah. So for Newsmax to be beating CNN is amazing. I saw Chris Ruddy on with Rob Schmidt the other night. They were Chris Ruddy is the founder of Newsmax. They were talking about some of the ratings. It's unbelievable. Rob Schmidt's ratings have gone up 40% since the Fox News exodus, and I think he may have had the biggest ratings growth at Newsmax, percentage-wise at least. But regardless, I love Newsmax. But why have on Mike Pence? Having on Mike Pence and treating him as a credible person and as a candidate and as a decent person and all these things, I think is damaging to the success of Newsmax because Newsmax is growing because of Fox News's failure, right? We had that first exodus, then we had the second exodus after Tucker. And Newsmax has become the alternative to what Fox News used to be. And if they keep bringing on Mike Pence and treating him with respect and acting as if he's a credible person, Mike Pence, that's going to do damage to Newsmax. They really should not have him on under any circumstances. I'm sorry. And if I see Mike Pence on I'm out. Now, I'm going to talk about something that Mike Pence said about Ramaswamy. I have the audio clip of this, but I'm not playing it because I don't want to hear Mike Pence's voice. Isn't that crazy? I mean, I play a lot of sound bites of a lot of jerks too.
Yeah.
but I do not want to hear Mike Pence's voice, so I'm not going to play
I don't either.
The audio, but I'm going to talk about it. And the reason I'm going to share this is because it brings something up about Ramaswamy that is something else that people should know, that he is not a conservative Republican, that he is a liar. Mike Pence tells Newsmax Vivek Ramaswamy's death tax is the last thing we should do. In fact, well, I don't know. In fact, according to Newsmax and Mike Pence, and I'll read through the story, Ramaswamy supports a 59% death tax. Listen to this. 59%.
That's nuts.
That's like
there should be
60%.
no death tax.
That's exactly right. Because the reason there should be, first off, Republicans are opposed to the death tax. It's an inheritance
under George
tax.
Bush, there was no death tax. He eliminated that.
Yeah, but
that was the one good thing he did.
All those things have timers on them, and they expire, and then it comes back.
It's ridiculous the government can tax you after you've paid taxes your whole life.
Well, that's the thing.
On the money you give your family.
The money has been taxed already by...
it's getting taxed twice.
Then
I
they
remember
die.
my uncle died. My Uncle Dominic. And this was when you and I first got married. Emily was a baby. And he left a nice estate and spread it across the whole family. And my one aunt, God rest her soul, Auntie Jean, was the trustee or whatever, not the trustee, but in charge of his will. And she made sure all the taxes came out of everybody's share except hers. So everybody, I got about half, my dad told me, of what I was supposed to get. It was still nice, but it was about half. And he said she made sure she got all of her money. But so, you know,
I didn't know you could do that.
It's not right. But I was pissed.
What happens a lot of times with the death tax is sometimes people will leave a business to their families, a farm, a business, a company, and the family has to sell the business, sell the farm just to pay the death taxes, right? They can't even keep it. It's crazy. So let me read through this story because it brings up something about Ramaswamy that I think we should know. Mike Pence ripped Vivek Ramaswamy on Newsmax for wanting to raise inheritance taxes to 59%. And this is pretty crazy. Ramaswamy, in his book, Nation of Victims, the title of his book, Ramaswamy wrote this. The way to save meritocracy from denigrating into aristocracy is to give inheritance and real estate taxes real teeth. A hefty inheritance tax with no loopholes gives us the best way while avoiding the worst. And he goes on. So how much more do people need to hear about Ramaswamy? He basically, 59%, I'm going to round up to 60. He wants a 60% death tax, an inheritance tax. He has this Soros connection. These friends of Epstein donated to him, not a registered Republican.
No.
I mean, I don't understand this whole movement of and he's not cool. I don't care if he lip syncs to Eminem at the Iowa State Fair. Who cares? Bill Clinton played the saxophone on Arsenio Hall.
Well, Eminem complained about him doing it, and he said he won't do it anymore.
He cowered down?
Out of respect for Eminem, if that's even possible.
Eminem's so happy he's doing that. You know, first off, when's the last time anyone even talked about Eminem?
Exactly. He's totally
He's been out for so long, and people are talking about him.
Yep.
You know, Ramaswamy is a bad dude. Now, I know you'll say, well, President Trump has said some good things about him. President Trump has said some good things about him for a couple of reasons. One, he's so far down in the polls, he's not even a competitor. He's not even in. He's less than the little leagues. He's whatever is below little leagues, he's in. Okay, in the polls. And number two, he is popular with a lot of young conservatives, and Donald Trump doesn't want to alienate the young conservatives right now. But Ramaswamy cannot be allowed to be have a seat at the table with Trump, with the MAGA movement. He is not a conservative. In fact, he's as conservative as that fake Republican Miami mayor that just dropped out. The mayor of Miami, and a lot of people don't understand, Miami is a tiny, tiny, tiny little place. That whole area that you see on the maps and people visit is not Miami. The city of Miami itself is very, very tiny. And this guy's a Democrat who just re-registered as a Republican. He voted not just for Hillary Clinton, but he also voted for Joe Biden 2 years ago. And he switched to Republican and now he just dropped out. That guy and Ramaswamy are equally as Republican, okay? Ramaswamy is not just Rhino's just too mild, Republican in name only. He's not a Republican at all. He is a complete fake. He's just a complete
So what
fake.
is why is he doing that? What's the purpose of it? Why not be a Democrat then? Which is what he is apparently.
Because I'll tell you why. Now this
Why
is
not be a star of the Democratic
I'll tell
Party?
you exactly why I think this, okay? And you guys can let me know in the comments what you think about what I'm about to say. What Kathy, I'll just repeat what Kathy said. I know you guys heard it, but just let me repeat it for my answer, okay? Kathy is saying, why does he pretend to be Ramaswamy? Why does he pretend to be a Republican?
And MAGA.
And MAGA, and not just say I'm a Democrat and be honest. Because the majority of the American people are MAGA conservative, at least those who vote are MAGA conservatives, and the Soros people are trying to infiltrate our great MAGA movement, and they're using this snake to do it.
So what could he do?
Him and Tulsi Gabbard are Trojan.
Say Trump made him the VP, God help us, or put him in the cabinet. So you think that would give him access?
Yeah, because he's young. He's like
Right.
37 years old. It puts it, he'll be elevated after that. He'll have higher positions in offices after that, and he's a Soros guy.
Well, the one thing I'll say about Trump is he was not very good at vetting people. He's had a lot of people turn on him. That's not always his fault.
Kathy, they have to hire like 10,000 people.
I know, and I think he'll go into this next administration much wiser. But he never should have hired Bill Barr and other people that were part of the swamp. He hired too many swamp creatures. For sure. None of them were on his side. They were all in there spying on him and leaking things. And he might like Vivek because he doesn't see him as part of the swamp. He's not a DC guy. But I hope he's very discerning. And I really hope God gives him the ability to discern good from bad. Because I think he learned some lessons. We all have. Not just him. I think we all learned some lessons along the way about DC and the government. You basically can't trust anybody. Maybe a handful. Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jim Jordan.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's about it I could name off the top of my head. Maybe Byron Donaldson. He would be good in his administration somehow. But I think he's going to run for governor, which would be amazing. I would love to have him as a governor of Florida. I think he'd be incredible. That's about it. Maybe 4 or 5 people I can name that I could really say I would feel confident to run with. Kristi Noem. You had said today we were talking, you think she'd be a good VP, and I agree.
Yeah.
She'd be a very good vice presidential pick. She's very good. South Dakota is doing amazing. I think they have term limits there, like most states.
I don't know.
So
I don't know
maybe
what
not. But if she can't run for governor again, I think she'd be fantastic.
Yeah, and
she's good on camera. She's very well spoken.
Yeah,
she's likable,
and she seems loyal. I'm sure she's not perfect. Nobody is perfect except Trump. when it comes to politics.
No. I mean, she said a couple things, but she's never like outwardly bashed Trump.
No, not that I know of.
And South Dakota was very, very loose with the COVID. Didn't have any restrictions at all.
Dick Morris said that none of these people running against Trump are going to be vice president for Trump. None of them. He just said that this weekend on Newsmax, Dick Morris.
So
and Dick Morris is a top advisor.
That would open
Trump.
the field to Kristi Noem. Well, why should he? All these people are attacking him. Kristi Noem type, or Marjorie Taylor Greene, who did say she was on his short list.
Yeah, this thing, Ramaswamy.
I think he'll pick a woman.
Ramaswamy and his dishonesty and fakeness is really a poll because it shows that the Soros people think that the future of this country is MAGA, and they're trying to infiltrate it with Vivek Ramaswamy. Let me know in the comments what you all think about that. Now, those of you that are Patreon supporters, I want to tell you guys, if you're a Patreon supporter, there's all kinds of exclusive content that you have access to, and it's accessible on the Patreon page to Patreon supporters only. Kathy and I both put up a lot of exclusive content, including videos that are only seen by Patreon supporters. And like I took a video when Kathy was in surgery. I made a video at the hospital, put it on the Patreon page. Only Patreon supporters have access to that, and a lot of other content, including commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. If you would like to support the program by becoming a patron of the program, there's a link to our Patreon page in the episode description, as well as a direct link on my website, briancraigshow.com. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on every podcast episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Rome, Wisconsin, Mike P., Carlos, Paulette, John, Arctic Fox, Heather, David, Richard, Melissa, and Maria in Texas. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all. We'll be right back.
From the imaginative mind of author Johnny Nevermind comes the new book, The Demiurged, a hip-hop conspiracy fable, now available on Amazon. Imagine a world where menace to society collides with the Matrix and Disney Pixar's Soul, all set to the rhythm of hip-hop. From the gritty streets of Pomona, California, to the mystique of the Philippines, journey through a realm of gangs, mysteries, and untold romances. But that's not all. Unveil mind-bending conspiracies, military secrets, and a message so crucial it might just be the wake-up call humanity needs as shadows loom. This novel is a thrilling comic book-paced adventure at first glance, but dig deeper and its horrifying truth will grab your soul. It's a revelation of our ancient adversaries, our world's clandestine resets, and the key to breaking free. This is just the beginning. Book 1 of a 2-part series that promises to uncover humanity's hidden truths and the path to our salvation. Are you ready to embark on the journey? Then order your copy of The Demiurged, a hip-hop conspiracy fable from author Johnny Nevermind. Available on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, and all major online booksellers. Gamers, gaming enthusiasts, and chatters alike, are you ready for the ultimate gaming community? Then check out Frank and Big Gulp Gaming on YouTube. They aren't just about playing, they're about connecting. If gaming's your passion, this channel is for you. They interact in real time during their live streams and with the comments left on the channel. You can experience the thrill of daily gaming shorts, multiple live streams each week, and a chance to be a part of a community that truly values your voice. Whether you're discussing the latest gaming strategy, sharing a fun anecdote, or even venturing beyond the world of gaming, Frank and Big Gulp are here for it all. Your opinions, your chats, your passion, it all matters, because in their community, every voice levels up to the game. Subscribe right now. Frank and Big Gulp Gaming on YouTube. Game on, chat on.
Hey, good morning, Brian. It's Lisa, and my husband and I received our My Pillow 2.0 that we ordered with Kane the other day, the buy one, get one free, and they're our first My Pillows, and we love them. We absolutely love them. They're just absolutely marvelous. Yeah, I'm so glad. I got slippers on the way, too.
Go to MyPillow.com and use our promo code Kane at checkout, K-A-N-E, and buy your My Pillow 2.0. Right now, buy one, get one free. You can also order by phone, toll-free, 800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. Promo code Kane.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Oh, wait till you hear this next story. This is just wonderful. Oh, I can't wait. I just wanted to finish up, when because it's our first show back from Kathy out of surgery just 48 hours ago. I know it's crazy, but you've had a number of surgeries in the 27 years we've been married, and they do this thing, and in particular in this one. What they did at the hospital is things are so weird. Everything since COVID has changed the way hospitals operate. And what they've done in hospitals since COVID, I know a lot of you are probably familiar with this, but they keep family members away from patients a lot more than they used to. Okay. It's not as bad as it was during the COVID period, but they've never gone back to the normal because they don't like families around. I guess they get in the way of the doctors and nurses, they figure. I don't know. So the way they did this is when they take you back to surgery, when they wheel you away, they take my phone number. And then they told me they have an area for, families to wait, which is on another floor. And they said, well, we'll call you. So they called me when you're in. They said, okay. Kathy just went into surgery 10 minutes ago, and we'll call you back. And the procedure you had wasn't supposed to take too long, right? And then like an hour goes by, and I don't hear back. And so you've been in surgery an hour and 10 minutes, then an hour and a half goes, and I don't hear back. And so then I think, well, I'm going to go back up to where I left you. So I get in the elevator to go to that floor, and the door shuts, and I hit the button, and the elevator won't move. So a security guard comes up to me and says, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Well, my wife had surgery. I'm going up to the room." "Oh, no, you just can't go. I have to clear the elevator for you. Did they call you?" And that it was over. I said, "No, but it was a minor thing, and it's been like over 2 hours now, and she should be done."
I wouldn't call it minor.
Well, you know what I mean. It wasn't. You didn't have no surgery is minor, but you didn't have like a heart transplant or quadruple bypass.
When you compare it to that, it sounds minor, but it's
No, it's not. It's not a tonsillectomy either. But anyway, okay, minor's not a good word. But anyway.
No.
So I said, well, no, they have not. And it's been like 2 hours, over 2 hours. I haven't heard back. I'm getting concerned. Well, you have to wait. You have to wait. So I finally found somebody to get a hold of. And then they told me you were in recovery. But they keep you hanging in there. And you get to that point. I don't know if any of you have been through this. I'm like getting kind of worried. Like I'm afraid the doctor's going to just come out of the elevator and give me some bad news because it's taken – I figured it would take 45 minutes, and here I am 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I've heard nothing since you went into surgery, and it gets like really freaky.
Yeah, it probably took about an hour and a half.
This has happened before with surgeries. I
wasn't under complete sedation.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't intubated, but I was kind of awake, but they kept giving me medication in my hand. I could feel it because it hurt every time they put it in, and I could feel some things. He didn't use enough local, and
that's
but I was
wonderful.
too out of it to say anything. But I could feel it. I could
like
feel
cutting and stuff.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
What's that? What's it feel like?
Doesn't tickle.
No,
it hurts.
Does it? Does it feel like you're being cut?
A couple times I said "ow."
Oh my gosh, that's just what you want during surgery.
Yeah, a couple times.
And when you said "ow," what did they do?
Sorry,
they didn't say, "Okay, we got to give you some more anesthesia."
They did.
Oh my goodness.
My whole neck is completely swollen.
You didn't tell me that part that you said "ow."
That happens all the time. One time, a long time ago, I was screaming in the middle. They didn't give me enough, and I almost was. They had the administrator come and check on me. It was the one nurse told me he came that was in there said he almost passed out because it was so awful.
The nurse said they almost passed out.
Remember when I had my first?
Oh, not this time. A long time
when
ago.
I was like 27. Yeah, that was scary.
Yeah,
but surgeons like to cut.
Oh my goodness!
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, so
my neck is like so bad. Between all my catheters and my thyroid surgery, I don't even want to look at. I couldn't even hardly look at it this morning. I was like almost in tears.
I know, and then
more scars.
And when you I go into the recovery room. They let me come into the recovery room, and you're in the recovery room, and the nurse comes in, and the nurse is taking your blood pressure and everything in the recovery room, and you're out of it because you had the anesthesia. And I saw something, but I didn't say anything at first because I thought the nurse would see this, and she left the room, and I was like, oh my God. And I didn't say anything to you because I didn't want to freak you out. So the nurse comes back in, and I thought she had left to get something to take care of what I had seen, and she didn't. So then I said, and what had happened is your entire back,
my head,
where your
my
head,
neck.
Your head, neck, and your back on the sheets and the pillow were covered in blood.
Yeah,
there was. The entire pillow.
It was gross.
It was covered in blood
because they operated on my neck. They had to put a new catheter in, and I was laying down, so everything. My hair I still haven't washed my hair. Because I can't bathe till tomorrow. I can bathe, but I can't wash my hair because all my stitches are by the neck. So I can bathe like below the neck. And so all the blood drips down. Same thing happened when I had my thyroid removed.
No, not like this.
And the whole pillow, I was like, oh, that's nice.
Well, you didn't. Well, so the nurse.
But I was so sedated on propofol, it didn't even faze me. I was just like, whatever. I was so freaking out of it.
So the nurse came back in, and I thought for sure she's going to take care of this. And she started leaving it. And I said, there's blood all over her sheets, and her pillow was completely soaked in blood. And when I say so, it looked, Kathy, it looked like somebody had been murdered on this bed. There was so much blood. I'd never seen anything like this. And I was like, oh my goodness.
But it wasn't dark. It was mixed in with other. It was kind of light.
It was still
but it was
soaked in and
lot.
everything. And I was like, this is crazy. I'm like, are you sure
Surgery's no fun.
So then, I mean, I know
I came home. This has never happened. Not to be gross. Sorry. I guess we're past that point.
I think so.
They put pressure bandages on you when you're like when they take out your IV or when you're bleeding. They put like they roll gauze into a pressure bandage to stop the bleeding. I came home with 5 yesterday. I've never come home with 5 pressure, maybe 2, 5 pressure gauze, 3 on my chest, 1 on each arm. That's how many places I was poked and cut. It was.
Well, I gotta say,
the last 2 weeks have been pure freaking hell.
Anytime you've had surgery, and I don't know if you guys are, I have never seen blood all over the pillow and the sheets before. And I was like, this is very strange.
The doctor who did it was a little messy.
Yes.
It was a little messy.
I've never seen anything like this before.
He didn't clean up after himself. So
No, I'd never seen anything like this before. I could not believe
they rush you so much that I think sometimes when they do these procedures back to back, the shorter procedures that might take an hour and a half, they just stack them up back to back. So they really have it's like a, assembly line, boom, in, out, boom. So they don't necessarily cross all their T's and dot all their I's before, but whatever. That's why I have you there, honey, to make sure. But our nurse was very nice.
I don't do very good with the blood either in the hospital when there's blood. And Kathy, I'd never seen anything like. All right, so let's get back to Ramaswamy.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so
Brian just can't get over it.
No,
you guys
it was a
can
lot.
fast forward all that if it's too much.
Well, it's too late now, Kathy. We're already at the end. It's too late to fast forward. Don't fast forward now because we're back into Ramaswamy.
Oh my goodness.
So this story here now. So I was telling you in the first segment that Ramaswamy to me looks like a Soros agent that they're trying to plant deep inside the MAGA movement. And I got to tell you,
I think you're right.
I'm not one to pat myself on the back. I do on occasion because in this kind of business, you don't get a lot of pats on the back. I know I do from you guys and from Kathy. You guys listen, but I'm talking about, other people in the biz. So you got to pat yourself on the back. Everyone. I think I'm the only one really calling out, and the only MAGA person calling out Ramaswamy all the time for being fake conservative, fake MAGA. Do you hear anybody else talking about this in the MAGA movement?
Not yet.
No. Yeah. So I've been doing this for weeks, months. I don't know, however long. Okay. So I was telling you in the first segment that I believe he's a Soros agent based on everything we said. Now listen to this. So George Soros' son is taking over now, right?
Yeah.
And
he's young and just as radical as his father.
So listen to this. This
He'll
is
have another 40 years of this crap.
This is in the Post-Millennial, which the postmillennial.com is a very good and reliable, incredible conservative online news outlet. They're based out of Canada and they're very, very good. This is the headline in their American news section. See, I got to go to the Daily Mail in the UK. I got to go to the Post-Millennial in Canada to find out what's going on in the United States. Listen to this headline. This is in the Post-Millennial. George Soros' son shifts priorities and resources to focus on defeating MAGA. That's right. And this is what Alex Soros says. I believe a MAGA-style Republican victory in next year's U.S. presidential election could, in the end, be worse for the EU than for the U.S. Such an outcome will imperil European unity. He's very European. So he is focusing his resources on defeating MAGA. What better way to defeat MAGA than get some fake MAGA like Ramaswamy, who's a Soros guy?
Yeah, they're probably best friends.
So when George Soros' son has taken over, and he says his priority is defeating MAGA because he thinks globally it's better for MAGA not to be in control. That's more evidence.
It's better for him to be in control.
Well,
apparently.
yeah, exactly. But it really shows you something about the entire Trump MAGA movement. That the American First movement, the America First movement of Donald Trump's, the MAGA movement, the rest of the world don't like that much. They don't like us to be the world leader.
Yeah.
And what Alex Soros is saying here is that without Trump, if you continue to have these sellouts like this senile old coot who takes bribes, Joe Biden, and sniffs people's hair, that we're not the world leader, that we are the world leader.
They don't want America to be the
Trump.
world leader of anything.
No, they don't.
No, they don't want.
No, they don't.
They don't want us to be the superpower.
No, No. And, this story here, Alex Soros focusing in on MAGA is his priority. That tells you everything you need to know. Yeah. And all of these people that are running against Trump in the primary, they might as well be working for the Soros Foundation because they're doing the bidding of the Soros Foundation.
They probably are working for him.
Defeating Trump would be a defeat to MAGA, right? And that's what the Soroses want. So I wonder, Kathy, how many of these Republicans on this debate stage running against President Trump are being backed with or without their knowledge, but being backed by the Soros people?
Well, I'm sure Pence and Chris Christie, off the top of my head, and Vivek. Yeah, you could probably say half.
Yeah.
And maybe even Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Now, you sent me this story. I want to share this. It's about China. And I started thinking today, maybe I'm over-intellectualizing it, but China is not the biggest threat to this country. Sellout American politicians like Biden and others, and Americans selling out to China are the problem. Okay, China has a China first policy. When you're supposed to put your own country first.
That's what Trump always talks about.
Yeah, you're supposed to put your own country first. What's wrong with that?
Right.
Trump is an America first guy. That's what we want. You want the American president. By the way, this whole thing of calling the president the American, there is only one president. Okay, it's the president of the United States. Other countries, you might have to say that the Portuguese president or whatever, but. When you have a president of the United States, you want a president that puts America first. So China is just doing what you're supposed to do: put your own nation first. Although we have sellouts. You sent me this story here. A Texas real estate mogul allegedly made millions of dollars by selling local farmland to a Chinese billionaire with close ties to Beijing, and it goes into a lot of details, which I'm not going to get into. This guy should be in jail.
He basically flipped it.
Yeah.
He bought the property. It's like 130,000 acres.
It's a lot of farmland.
In Texas, East Texas. He bought the property. He's an American. And then from the owner, who thought he was selling to an American, which he was. And then he turned around and flipped it and sold it for double. China will pay anything.
Yeah.
And made millions and millions of dollars. He's like a traitor to the country.
Absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And,
Greg Abbott should put the kibosh on that sale if he can do anything about it.
See, guys like this are a bigger threat than China. China's doing what they're supposed to do, put their country first.
That's right. Just
like we want Trump to put the United States first. We want all of our elected officials in the United States to put our country first. Only Trump does. I would like to see President Trump, when he comes back into his second term, not just stop sales of land to China and other foreign countries, but to seize all of this land back from,
he could run on that.
The farmland, the farmland purchases are a national security threat. It's an economic threat and it's a national security threat. I hear all these jerks talking about Ukraine is the breadbasket of the world. That's complete bullshit. Okay, I'm sorry. The United States is the breadbasket of the world, not Ukraine. They may provide a lot of food to that region, but China buying up all this farmland, let's just say this farmland grows pumpkins. I don't know. It probably grows a bunch of different things, but just say it grows pumpkins. And China, they control the farms, and just by having a bad crop one year, which could happen by purposefully making it look like neglect, but who knows? And all of a sudden, we got no pumpkins next season, or there's a shortage of pumpkins.
Well, they have a lot of control over the stock market.
And what does that do to the economy?
Exactly.
Pumpkins may not be the best example, but they control farmland all over this country. Well, that means they control our food supply.
I think I don't know what crops they have in Texas. I know they have a lot of cattle.
I have no idea. They said farmland is not the same. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you guys are from Texas. I know what we have in Florida. Well, citrus, obviously.
And
lots
sugar
of citrus. Sugar cane is huge in Florida. Those are the two main, if you drive up the state, when you get past Orlando, all you see are citrus
oranges,
trees,
grapefruit, and sugar cane.
And everything. That's the main thing. But Texas, I don't know. I know up north they have like apples in the Northwest, and different places do different things. So I'm not sure, but let us know, because I don't know too much about. I know Texas can get hot. But it's a shame, and I think people that do that, you're right. They're like the Jews who led their other Jews into the freaking ovens. Like that guy in Schindler's List that was walking around with the clipboard with the Jewish star and taking everybody's name and number,
and walking him in the shower.
I mean, I don't want to compare this to the Holocaust, but obviously that's worse.
They're betraying the country.
You know what I'm saying?
They're betraying the country.
Right. The theme is the same: betraying your own people, betraying your own country. And everybody knows what China's doing here. And to buy 130,000 acres with the sole purpose of flipping it, I'm sure you had that buyer waiting in the wings and making a huge profit. I mean,
Well, and it's a difficult thing.
Awful.
There's a lot of, what happens is China, for the most part, my guess would be, they don't come in and say, hey, we're the CCP and we want to buy this land. They probably have it so removed through so many different shell companies.
Well, they find a proxy like this guy to buy it for them, and then they say, you go buy it, and then I'll buy it from you for double.
They've been buying up farmland all over this country. Another thing they're doing is buying up rental properties and buying up residential real estate.
That's happened in our neighborhood.
And there are our neighborhood, we do not live in a rental community. We live, homeowners.
Very middle class.
Yeah, we're homeowners. And in the last couple of years, because real estate in Florida has gone up, and this is happening all over the United States. It's happening a lot in Florida. Companies are coming in the residential neighborhoods, buying the homes, and outbidding local buyers by offering cash they don't finance. And then they rent the homes. And we have a couple of rental houses on our street, which I'm not happy about because the rents are high.
In fact, our neighbors rent the house, and that was bought by a huge company.
Well, there's a couple things. I have nothing against renters, but the rent is so high.
Yeah.
Because we live in a middle class neighborhood, but it's a nice neighborhood, and we're in Florida, so And
we're like 10 minutes from the beach.
And what happens exactly?
We're close to the ocean.
But what happens a lot of times with the renters, and like one that's kind of across the street, they have like 15 cars in the driveway because they need 10 or 15 people to make the rent. Because the rent's so high. But these houses, I've looked them up. Anytime a house sells on our street, I guess I'm nosy. I don't, and I've always done this. I always go through the public records to see who owns it.
Right.
And I know that's crazy, but I do that. And
when Emily was little, we checked. You were always checking for sex offenders.
I do that too.
In the neighborhood too.
I still do that.
And you would find out where they lived, and there's, thank God.
Well, they show you. I wouldn't have to invest. There's a website.
We live pretty close to schools, so there really aren't any in our neighborhood because they can't live near schools.
There's a website you can go to, and it shows you the right. And what you
got to check these things.
And I would show sometimes our daughter, if you see this guy, there was one guy that worked at the Walmart down the street. He was on the sex offenders list.
Yeah, we saw him at the school all the time.
And I told my daughter, I said, stay away from that guy. He's on the sex offenders list, the predators list. But anyway.
You got to check your neighborhood, know what's going on. 2
of the houses on our street that were purchased and the owners are renting them out are owned by companies out of California. And
there you go.
And I suspect that the house are owned by the Chinese. And what the Chinese are very, very smart. Liberals get very upset when you say Putin's smart or the Chinese people are smart. They're smart, and the Chinese are waging a Cold War against this country at a level that has never been done before.
Well, here's the thing. Everybody has a price, and I believe that these cities are being allowed to go into ruin for this purpose. I believe China is going to come in and buy up all these cities. They're all major cities. The property values are going way down because of the crime and the drugs and the homelessness that's going on. And people ask why, I saw a woman on the news this morning, this black woman in Chicago that was so upset that they moved in a bunch of illegals across the street from her. And she said they've brought crime, prostitution, drugs, they beg for money. And she said, I worked my whole life to buy this condo and I got to live across from this. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe these Democrats are allowing these major cities to be completely dilapidated. Look at San Francisco. There's a lot of Chinese out there. So the Chinese can come in, and when it's at rock bottom prices, a lot of people think this about Maui. There's a conspiracy, or a lot of people think that those fires were set on purpose because it's a big land grab. And I think that's what's happening in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Philadelphia, all major cities. I think one day China's going to come in and buy all
our
these
cities.
major
They're doing
cities
it.
at rock bottom prices. And I think the Democrat politicians are letting it happen.
Like these houses in our neighborhood that have been bought by these companies in California. I am like 98% sure that they're Chinese backed. And what happens is, what China does with that is they control housing prices and they control rental prices.
Exactly.
They control they control our food supply.
Yep.
They control Biden. They control members of Congress. Well,
Brian, if they buy into a city, they have commercial property, they have a commercial and residential,
and
they're controlling businesses as well as homes.
They have China has more control over every aspect of the American economy and way of life, and
they're doing it under the radar in a lot of ways. They probably have bought a lot more than we know about. They have shell companies like Biden would have, and I think a lot of this is happening a lot more that we don't see, and it's like a Trojan horse. And one day it's gonna happen.
I don't believe that China, directly or indirectly, should be able to own anything in this country.
I agree.
And what I would like to see President Trump do is seize all farmland, commercial property, residential property, businesses. Anything that China owns should be seized from them and then resold to
And he would know how to
Americans.
do that. He could have a whole task force, because he's dealt with contracts and land development his whole career. He would be perfect for that. That'd be a perfect thing on his platform. He could have a whole task force, and that's all they do is go around and look at these contracts and look at these sales, and any connection to any Chinese company, boom, we seize that property and sell it back to Americans and tell them, you buy this, you cannot resell it to a Chinese company, or we're going to take your money.
That's right. We'll be right back.
The 80s, MTV reigned supreme, and parachute pants were the height of fashion. If you're a diehard fan of the unforgettable 80s, then visit WeLoveThe80s.com. That's 80s, EIGHTIES. At WeLoveThe80s.com, you'll find incredible discussions, like what are the 10 most iconic movies of the 80s? From E.T., Back to the Future, The Breakfast Club, to Die Hard. Is it an action film or a Christmas movie? Explore the intriguing dark side of the 80s. Take a look at the fashion that defined the decade. Neon colors, Michael Jackson's red leather jacket to Don Johnson's Miami Vice suit. And of course the music, like Physical from Olivia Newton-John, Say 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 from Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, Take On Me from Aha, and Walk Like an Egyptian from the Bangles. Are you ready to relive the magic of the 80s? Then head over to WeLoveThe80s.com. EIGHTIES. Your journey back to the 80s is awaiting you right now at WeLoveThe80s.com. Share the link on all of your social media so your friends can take a trip back in time too. WeLoveThe80s.com. A blast from the past. Are you dreaming of wealth and think it's all about dollar signs? Money is essential for sure, but what if there's more to wealth than just cash? The Wealth Academy podcast believe that wealth is more than just money. This podcast covers the true meaning of wealth. Hosted by Paul Lawrence Van, you will journey to the heart of what makes life rich. From a sound mind, body, and spirit to the beauty of love, understanding, and deep connections. You'll discover the facets of wealth that money can't buy. Host Paul Lawrence Van offers solo insights and engaging interviews. If you think money is all you need, think again. Add the Wealth Academy podcast to your podcast playlist and redefine wealth with a broader perspective. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you get your podcast, or visit wealthacademypodcast.com. Subscribe now and embark on a journey to the true meaning of wealth. The Wealth Academy podcast with host Paul Lawrence Van. Start listening right now, because life's riches are more than just about money. From author Donna Silvera comes a book that's a journey into the mysteries of the end times, now available on Amazon. This is your last warning. For centuries, religions have prophesied the end of days. This must-read book discusses the vivid signs that our world is nearing its destiny. Drawing on the church's authority, the book examines text, apocalyptic visions, and contemporary revelations, connecting history and culture, offering a unique perspective on prophecies, deepening comprehension and relevance. Combining church teachings and prophecies, This Is Your Last Warning is a comprehensive narrative of what's to come. This Is Your Last Warning from author Donna Silvera is available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. Order your copy right now.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. All right. So, Fulton County, I'm trying to get this thing started that no one's picked up on. I don't know if they will. But I'm trying to get this thing in Fulton County, the Trump 19, and this is crazy what's going on in Fulton County. And President Trump already did his arraignment without having to show up. So we're not going to get the in-person arraignment of President Trump on Wednesday, which I was hoping for because I thought it would help me. But President Trump knows better than I do. But I thought it would help if the American people could show the disrespect that Fani, Willis, and these Democrats in Fulton County are showing to President Trump. But Brian Kemp, who he may be disliked more than even Mike Pence with Republicans, right? Who do you dislike more, Brian Kemp or Mike Pence? They're both pretty equally bad. But Brian Kemp,
I'd say Mike Pence.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Brian Kemp's going after Trump full throttle with this. I'm sure he's behind this too.
Well, Brian Kemp, for those that don't know, he's the governor of Georgia, and Brian Kemp rejected the idea of convening a special legislative session to remove Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis from her position due to this.
Oh, he hates
criminal
Trump.
thing she's doing.
He hates Trump.
Here's the thing.
And he helped get him elected.
Yeah.
Another traitor.
Here's the thing with Brian Kemp. All of us deal with people we don't like or don't care for. And I'm sure, have any of you ever worked with someone?
Oh, yeah.
Brian Kemp, and a lot of people will say what Kathy says, well, Trump has said bad things about it. So because Trump has said negative things about Brian Kemp is such a little man that because his feelings got hurt, he's going to allow our entire constitutional republic to fall because he's offended at what Trump has said about him? Yeah. I mean, what kind of person is he?
You said at the beginning of the show, these men have big egos, and the bigger they are, the harder they fall. They can't handle being publicly humiliated, and that's how they see it. And once that happens, like look at Joe Scarborough. Once that happens, that's it. They're like a dog with a bone.
But you know what? Joe Scarborough is just a mouthpiece.
He insulted his wife, and boom, that was the end of it.
Brian Kemp, Brian Kemp is the governor of Georgia. Yeah. There's a threat to the American system of governance going on with this daughter of a communist Black Panther member, Fani Willis. Everybody knows this. And because he's been offended by Trump, he's going to allow our entire – I want you to think about this with Brian Kemp. Put this in perspective, okay? All those men who sacrificed their lives on the beaches of Normandy, right, in the American Revolution and any of our wars, fighting for freedom, for fighting for the American way of life, for democracy, for our right to vote, the freedom riders of Martin Luther King's that had their heads bashed in by Democrats in the South because they were Black and they went in the bus stations or they sat at a lunch counter or, all those people that were lynched by all those Black Republicans who were lynched by Democrats during the Jim Crow era, after the Civil War, because they wanted to stand up for freedom and their rights. Brian Kemp is disrespecting everyone who was given their life for this country. Because he's been offended by Trump, because Trump made some comments about him.
Look what John McCain did. Because Trump said, I like men who don't get captured. He came and voted to keep Obamacare, which was what his whole platform
with the thumbs down
was based on. He was dying of cancer, flew all the way out to Washington from his deathbed just to put his thumb down, like F you.
How petty.
That was exactly. Well, that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with people with
Kathy?
very big, fragile egos.
And John McCain. Not that I'm going to defend John McCain, but John McCain had a brain tumor which could have impacted his judgment and his mind and his thinking.
I don't think so.
I think I don't think so either. But
I think he's just a jerk.
But Brian Kemp. What Brian Kemp is doing is worse than what McCain did. Okay, now it's pretty bad, but Brian Kemp is the worst. And when I
you
say
see him talk, he really.
I don't listen
Trump.
to him talk.
He might hate Trump more than Joy Reid.
I do not listen to a word. I'll read it.
So full of venom.
I will read it in an article like this. Yeah. You notice I don't even go through the whole article, but I will not listen to Brian Kemp's voice. And I don't think I'm being overly dramatic. People have sacrificed their lives for the American way of government. And Brian Kemp, because he was offended by Trump, will allow America to fall. Ron DeSantis, for all of his faults, and he's a bad guy. He's a traitor. He betrayed MAGA. He betrayed those of us who voted for him for governor here in Florida, and he betrayed President Trump. But when he has these outlaw prosecutors, he has fired them. I don't know how many prosecutors he's fired, removed from office now, but he's done it several times because they were not prosecuting crime. They were letting criminals get away with crimes. He got rid of it. Did the same thing with the sheriff here in Broward County after the Parkland shooting. For all his faults, when he has out of control radical district attorneys that are not doing their job or doing it inappropriately and things like this, he gets rid of them, DeSantis. Brian Kemp should be doing the same thing. Fani Willis is out of her mind, okay? Everyone knows no crime was committed by President Trump or any of the other 18 that have been indicted in Fulton County, and he is the biggest villain. He's worse than Pence in that Pence doesn't have any power. He doesn't hold office anymore. Brian Kemp has a lot of power. He holds office, and I think he plans on holding different offices for the rest of his life. These people never want to leave elected office, They don't. That means they'd have to go and work. So shame on Brian Kemp for not having this. I don't know what the process is in Georgia. In Florida, the governor could just remove someone. Now, there's a process for them to go to the legislature.
DeSantis has done it. He's removed a few people.
Yeah, but when he removes someone, because and the people that he's removed have been they're elected officials. So it's a big deal. They
were soft on crime. Two of them, the one in Tampa, the district attorney or the whatever.
These are the Soros district attorneys he's removed.
Yeah, he's removed, really soft on crime.
But he's done this not just he did 2 recently, but he's done others in the past since he's been governor in his first term. And there's a process when Governor DeSantis removes these Soros prosecutors, they're out. Now there's a process they can go to the state legislature and argue their case to try to get back in. It's failed every time, and when DeSantis has done that, as much as we're betrayed by him and upset, and I'm not using the royal way, I'm talking about MAGA here in Florida, we applaud him for doing the right thing there. Brian Kemp should remove Fani Willis. What Fani Willis has done is
never going to
wrong, and he is another.
Because he agrees with what she's doing. He wants Trump in trouble.
Well, he's a bad guy.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of bad guys
He's
around.
a bad guy. And those of you that are in Georgia, I feel sorry for you. As bad as DeSantis is, I can say that he's a good governor. He betrayed us all.
He's a very good governor.
He's fake MAGA. He lied to us. He lied to Trump. But we just had this major hurricane hit Florida, and Biden came here and said, "Oh, we're going to take care of Florida." Florida does not need help.
We don't need Biden.
We
don't need it. That was a big political stunt. We don't need him at all.
No, and we don't want Biden here, by the way, or any other Democrat. Nope. We'll take care of ourselves. And when we have a disaster in Florida, DeSantis does a damn good job. I'll give him that. But Brian Kemp, for him to say he's not going to do anything to stop Fani Willis is disgusting to me. And I'll never forget, these I will never forget these people in this era. And, the Donald Trump made a very wise decision when he left office. There was a lot of talk about him starting a third party. He said, "No, I'm going to take back the Republican Party." And that's a tough thing to do But I don't think it's as difficult as starting a third party because
he hasn't been able to do it yet.
I wouldn't be so sure
like
about
it's worse.
that. No, they're the ones that are resisting him are more vocal and active, and he's not.
Hopefully, they'll get voted out of office.
But you look, there I did a live stream yesterday. You guys should watch all my YouTube videos. I did a YouTube live stream yesterday. Only Trump can save America is the on the thumbnail, and in that I go through a whole bunch of recent polls. And one of the ones a lot of people are talking about, the Wall Street Journal poll of Republicans has Trump at 59%. That means, and DeSantis is number 2 in the teens. If all of these people running against Trump dropped out except one, and all of their supporters went to that last person, Trump would still be 41 points ahead in the polls. And some of those people would go to Trump, by the way. They wouldn't all go behind whoever was the last Republican standing. But if they did, Trump would still be 41 points ahead, okay? And that's the way it is. He's going to be back in the White House. And let me tell you, when he comes back in his second term, they always talk about that first 100 days. The first 100 days of Trump's second term is going to be the most dramatic first 100 days in the modern presidency.
I think it'll be way better than his first because
there's going to be a mass.
He won't be consumed and preoccupied with the media like he was the first time, which I thought was such a waste of energy. And he really had kind of I don't want to say obsession, but for the first 3 years of his administration, he really was consumed with the media, watching the media, trying to control the messaging. You can't do that where you just cannot worry about that. You just have to put your energy into doing a good job, and the American people will see it and they will respond to it. But he was so used to doing those kinds of things in his private life. I don't think he'll do that again this time. In fact, I don't think he gives a shit about the media and what they say anymore. And I think after he got COVID, I think he realized that they really just wanted him to drop dead.
Absolutely.
And he realized, I could see it in his face and his affect and the way he talked. He was kind of like, these people are never going to accept me. F them. So I think he has, because I saw a change in him with the press. He's not doing as many interviews. He's not as obsessed with it as he was before. Before it was like, after a while, I'd be like, all right, just don't worry about it. Just do your job. And I know he did a great job, but I thought it was a waste of energy sometimes. I don't think that'll happen again. I think he's going to go into this with a completely new perspective. And that's great. Having perspective is a great thing. And I think he's going to have tons of perspective.
You're right. We'll be back next time.